So quantum computing is also in the ascendancy. We've got companies investing, around the world from IBM to D-Wave. And when a company like IBM decides to pivot, they pivot in a big way. Now, on the topic of IBM, you look at Watson, which Watson, their NLP thing, they kind of abandoned. It's still kind of there, but I don't know. I know some people that have worked at IBM in the past, and it seems like Watson is kind of getting slowly killed. They're slowly pivoting away from it, and IBM as like the original.
Okay, I feel like I'm trying to take the limelight from this guy. Let me just move my face out of the way. There you go. Hey, buddy. We can have a conversation now. Let's keep going.
OG computer company, they're saying quantum computing is the next big thing, so that investment is there. And of course, they're not the only one. But quantum computing is likely to be something that really helps with several things, like AI, like blockchain, cryptography, but also material science. And so material science, you might say, okay, like what? What is that? Material science is basically studying the formation of crystals and metals and those sorts of things, which might sound kind of boring until you know a lot about what material science does. Material science is like one of the most fundamental underpinning sciences. Like all the chip fabs, material science. In fact, a buddy of mine who was a material science major, that's where most material scientists end up.
Okay, I don't know much about quantum computing, but I do get what he's talking about when he talks about when he's mentioning material science and all that sort of stuff, because, well, that's where the computing power gets in. That's where computers have increasingly gotten better over the decades, is the reduction of the size of the chips. And I'm guessing that's because of material science and able to use certain materials to be able to reduce the size of chips and parts in computers, so then you can, and also have the process of the magnetics or the mechanics of the computer system work faster. So I'm guessing that's what the material science comes in handy for when you're talking about quantum computing. But like I said, I don't know much about it. It's interesting.
Is either in like studying lasers, studying fusion, but most of them go to work at chip fabs like TSMC and Intel and those sorts of things, because it's understanding things at the molecular level, at the nanotech level, that allows you to do like chemical vapor deposition, to create layers of graphene and boron and all those other sorts of things. And those tiny technologies, the orientation of those crystals, that gives rise to everything in biotech, that gives rise to everything in genetic science, that gives rise to better computer chips, and all of these have compounding returns, on top of the fact that it also advances things like battery technology, radar technology, metamaterials. And so, like,
yeah, I get that as well. I see how that would not only be a development for quantum computing, but also a variety of other things, because you're talking about materials that do have certain functions that then they can also transfer over to other things and have that same sort of function, I guess. It's interesting, especially things like batteries and whatever else. So, yeah, the process of technology increases. I know what I'm talking about.
The kinds of breakthroughs that AI combined with quantum computing can help us produce with respect to material science. And you've already seen like AlphaFold 2 and some of those other ones that say, oh, we just invented 3 million new materials. That is what I mean by the compounding returns, where it's like, okay, now we've got all these new materials.
3 million new materials? Okay, so they're not finding new materials, they're inventing new materials. So they're making these new materials. And obviously the idea of making these new materials, 3 million, some have to be a hit, surely, and be able to change things.
That we can explore. Maybe they're going to be good for nanotech. Maybe you can create nanites that you inject into your blood, and it clears out your arteries or whatever. And then here's another material that like accelerates computer chips by 2x, and here's another material that we can add to our batteries that gives them a 500 times longer life cycle. Like, again, that scene in Iron Man where Howard Stark is like, this is the way of the future. Really what he was talking about was material science. And this is why they had like the vibranium shield and stuff. Like, I'm not saying that we're going to have vibranium, like an indestructible metal that can like deflect a Thanos.
Okay, now I'm starting to get Marvel. Now I'm starting to get Iron Man. I had no idea.
Attack. But like, I don't know, we might get close. So on the topic of these things, the fourth technological pillar that I expect is going to be advanced biotech. So, genetic technology, vaccine technology, whatever else. There's going to be a lot of modalities, whether it's CRISPR or mRNA vaccines or, nanoparticles or whatever, conventional medicines. Like, we're going to understand it all. We're going to be able to map the entire human metabolome.
So, with all these things, I think the issue that you come into with these advancements is that you have a lot of false advancements, and I think that's what, even if you're on the path of hitting the best outcome against the worst outcome, I think what drags you back to at least that grey area are these false claims of technologies and things, people saying that they've done this and they've done that and they've created this and invest in our company, and they just bullshit like they do these days. They just go on about crap, and then that people focus on that thing and then realize it's a fraud, and then they've got to realign themselves and then focus on something else. So they've wasted time on these fraudsters and then have to try and readjust and find people that aren't fraudsters and go down their path of legitimate claims and legitimate things. So I think, I don't know what their reasoning for it's either going to be the good or the bad path, but I think that if you're on the good path, I think that's what drags you into the grey area, or more to the center at least. Anyway, I don't know, I just thought of that.
So if you have never heard the term metabolome, basically it's our genome, but also the proteins and enzymes and hormones and all the cellular respiration that happens. And there's something like 400,000 substances in the human metabolome and millions of reactions. So it's like, imagine the problem space of Go times like 40 or 4 million. I don't know how to put a number on how complex the human metabolome is. Anyways, if you can map the whole thing and you know what's happening on a molecular level and an atomic level, again, going back to computer science, quantum computers, and then you can map everything, like we will eradicate, like functionally, what this impact is going to have on you and me, we will eradicate all disease and we will cure aging. And so that's kind of the ultimate goal. Now, in the long run, so this is where I usually try and dial it in because I don't want to be too hyperbolic, but in the long run, we will have full control over human biology, which means like, oh, hey, while you're on a trip to Mars, we can adapt your entire body.
So I think this is the crazy part, and this is the part I was talking about before with advancements in biotechnology when you're talking about aging or solving aging, or he's got here aging solved. How that helps the advancements keep going exponentially is because you have the people with the knowledge and the experience that continue to live for longer, and you have more and more people. And if aging is reduce, like if people increase how long they live and they're living twice as long, then the information that you hold on to, or the experts in the world and in some fields, are only going to stay around in those fields for even longer and be able to dedicate more time to those fields and help it grow even quicker. So that's going to help the exponential growth in all fields. So including AI, which will probably just surpass humans anyway, and then doesn't matter, who cares about humans, because we can do it a lot quicker with AI.
to a low gravity, low oxygen environment. Oh, hey, while you're on a trip to Proxima Centauri, we can reprogram your entire body to be more adaptive to deep space, and so on and so forth. And we will have full control over our hardware stack.
So that'd be crazy, being able to change like the actual function of your body. That's like science fiction. Don't believe it. I don't know if it's going to happen, but who knows? It seems a bit too out there, but I'm not tracking any of this sort of stuff, so I've got no idea.